There was a recent case that you guys are probably familiar with, I'd imagine by now, because the body cam footage got recently released. I don't know if it was last night or if it was this morning. But there was an instance in which this sort of fight broke out. The cops arrived on scene and ended up in the deaths if I'm not mistaken, of this teenager. And it seemed to check all the boxes, which were going to end up in a everybody protest type of situation, going through this cycle of bull crap because police kill black person. You already know what time it is. Now, it turned out once the body cam footage was released and we got the actual footage of what happened, the chick was about to stab, the teenager was about to stab somebody. Like, you see the knife in the hand. So if we assume that body cam is what we're seeing on the body cam is what actually happened, and it's not altered or something else. Yeah, the chick pretty clearly has a knife in her hand and it's about to stab this chick, and it looks like it's about to be a killing shot as well. If you're watching it, it's pretty intense. And of course, the cop who was like, he arrives. I forget what exactly he said once he arrived. He's trying to figure out what's going on. And then the fight just immediately breaks out. Some chick starts rolling towards him. A dude's kicking the chick in the head. And then the chick that knocked that chick that's rolling on the ground ends up turning to another chick that's in pink that wasn't even like part of the initial scuffle. That doesn't mean that they didn't have beef or anything like that. But she ended up turning into her, and then she was like fucking about to go for a stab, and officer let off 4. To his credit, guy had a decent shot. I mean, you hate to see people die regardless, but he neutralized the threat, the deadly threat that is, and he didn't hit the innocent party. Oh, no, I won't say innocent party. Let me backtrack. I don't want to say innocent party. The party that didn't have a knife. Let's say that. It was pretty efficient. Say what you will. And when we talk about this, however, you know, what I look at it, and I'm gonna take a different take, because rather than to sit up here and argue what's justified and what's not, I have a different take that I want to focus on. And that what this does show, it shows a couple of different things that I want to talk about. And seeing people discuss it, particularly on Twitter, which is where all the stupid people are. And seeing people discuss this, you got one or two things that I think come out of that. Number one, and this is probably the main point of the video, is that it highlights how people that either like and support the police a lot and hate the police, there are many people within both of those camps that have unrealistic, ridiculous standards as far as what they set for the police, which is a part of the freaking problem anyway. We'll get to that in a minute. The second is how many people have never been in an altercation ever in their life, physical altercation ever in their life, and they have no idea on how to properly, in terms of whether it be gun safety, properly use a gun. They have absolutely no idea, and they get their information from movies and video games. So those are two things that I want to focus on. Okay, and these concepts, particularly the first one, which is one that almost nobody mentions, I think that I'll credit myself for it. I've talked about this many times, specifically talked about this on the Blaze. Let's go in the first point. And the first point is, when I talk about the unrealistic expectations by people that are among these different parties, and this doesn't mean I'm taking a centrist position, I'm just saying, you got folks that generally support the cops. And they treat them like gods, in the sense that they can never do wrong, and you always supposed to just listen to them under in all given circumstances. They're not, or even when they are in error, it's still you're expected to, even if they are the aggressor, to follow everything it is that they say, because they put them on this pedestal. You have the other side that does that and doesn't even realize that they're doing it. And that side is the people that will say ACAB, they hate cops and all sorts of things. Meanwhile, they expect them to have the morality of a Jesus, while also having the reaction speeds I don't know, flash or something like that. Be able to be as efficient with their kill shots or with their shooting as John Wick, as patient as a monk, as skilled and MMA fighters, roundhouse kicking. Like the amount of stuff that I heard people as these armchair people that were talking about this situation was sitting there like he should have shot her arm, shot the knife out their hand. Should have used a taser, which of course if you're familiar with tasers, them work sometimes they don't. Should have used it. Should have did this. Should have shot a warning shot. You never. By the way, friendly advice for you new gun owners out there: don't ever do that. Don't ever do that. If you're going to, because again, it's important that you know that you are responsible for whatever comes out of that gun. Do not ever shoot. There's no such thing as shooting a warning shot. What goes up must come down. Don't ever do that. That is terrible advice. Do not ever do that. Don't ever, ever, ever do that. Nonetheless, you're taught to shoot specifically center mass, right? So you get these other guys that are like, should have shot his leg, should have shot a leg, which, arteries that exist there nonetheless. Terrible idea. That's usually how you're going to end up missing. So that's what I mean when I talk about how people have unrealistic expectations and why I think that this creates the turmoil it is that exists. And even the people, because I would generally fit in the camp if I had to belong to one of those, which I don't think those dichotomies have to exist. I more so belong in the camp that despises the police. It's not a secret. You know how I feel about them. Agents of the state, I'm going to call them what they are. But there's these parties that are even at odds at each other that expect cops to react in ways that they themselves, or they're held to standards that they don't hold their fellow man. And some people say that's good. I say that's terrible. That's the problem. That's the problem with that institution right there, is that you don't hold them to the standard that you would your fellow man. Because here's the thing. Here's the reality of the situation. If I'm just being, responsible gun owner here. If I happen to be in an area and I've assessed the situation, right? Let's say that my family is involved. I've assessed the situation. And of course, you're expected to do it just like that. I know everybody can armchair what should have did, shoulda, coulda, woulda, instant transmission, and kick the knife out of the prison. I understand that there's some stupid people out there. Reality shows you guys that you have never been in a physical altercation, because those split-second decisions, most of you guys would never be able to make them. And this isn't me defending the cop. Not at all. It's precisely the reason why I'm not defending them is I want you guys to understand why there's so much more knowledge that these guys are going to need to seek in the event that we're going to have to move towards, or going to be able to move towards a freer, more prosperous society. Going back to what it was that I was just talking about. Say if my family member or something like that, and they're in some conflict, and I'm running up to the scene trying to see what happened. I see someone, let's say with a knife, about to stab someone. If I'm not drawing, whether I be carrying or appendix, doesn't matter. You're fucking stupid. That's exactly what I'm going to do. And it wouldn't ever be, or rather, people would be less likely to assume that's an irrational response. We're talking about, because the idea when you are going to actually shoot someone, this doesn't matter whether you're a cop or whether you're a Joe Blow individual. The idea is that you're shooting to you don't necessarily, it's not about per se shooting to kill, but if the person dies, it is what it is, but you're shooting to neutralize a deadly threat. And believe it or not, for you guys that aren't familiar, you've never been shot or stabbed, I have. You could die from that. It's yes, a knife is a deadly weapon. Okay? It is a deadly weapon. And if you think that I wouldn't lay your ass down in the event that I see you going to stab, let's say, a family member or something like that, you're fooling yourself. And most people would do the same. Not shooting in the air or trying to shoot someone's hand, shoot the knife out someone's hands like this is the movies or something. The expectation that you guys have of them in that institution is why there is not any solutions, if you will, when it comes to the police. Now, I've been of the opinion that you want to limit as many interactions as you can. There are things that are considered criminal, but they aren't actually criminal, as in there's no victim there. Of course, we want to limit those. But also, I think you guys need to hone in your expectations of what you have from that institution. From whether you hate the cops or you love them. My argument has always been that I want individuals to be, I'm an anarchist, but I get that. But I want individuals to at least be held to, at minimum, when it comes to the acts of aggression, to the same standard. And if I wouldn't held you to that, my fellow man, to that standard, why would I hold another institution that you guys authorized to have to monopolize, be effective? You know, obviously they're state agents, but the law's monopolized. So it's almost like in the event that there's any sort of conflict in that regard, you have to go through them. Y'all wanted that set up, not me. Either way, you're holding this institution to this standard that you don't hold your fellow man and what you expect them to be gods. This is why you get so butthurt in the event that they act in the way that they act. But also you're inconsistent and you never get to a solution because you don't seem to understand how this works. This is why I'm saying it's so important that people understand with the situation that there's knowledge to be gained here. And this is why I don't take a lot of people serious when they talk about defunding or abolishing the police. It's different when it comes from me versus when it comes from them. Those are two completely different concepts because they're coming from this standpoint of, well, we just send social workers and we still steal from you, steal money from you, and we send social workers and all this unrealistic bullshit that doesn't even make sense, that would obviously collapse on itself in the event that there's any sort of violent conflict that arises because they treat human beings as if they're robots. Again, seeing the world for what they want it to be as not really as to what it is. Again, these are people that have never been in any violent interaction or anything, or they're inconsistent. And when you look at a violent situation that exists among regular citizens, they look at that completely different from the way they look at, let's say, cops. I told y'all that is the fundamental problem, and it exists on people that are on both sides. Not both sides, because there's many other sides, but on two different sides of the issue. A lot of them are in that camp that hate them, the cops, and others are in the camps that love them. And I say it's the same problem, which you look to them as if they are gods. They aren't. They're human beings just like you and me. They make errors. And the problem is a lot of y'all have given them the standard, right? Given them the authority. And in that regards, it creates more issues. But they don't want to look at it like that because they have to look at it in a pretty bow. And this is why you have a lot of blue check marks on Twitter saying dumb stuff that doesn't even make sense, right? That two things can be true, right? Like me, not a fan of the cops, not a secret. I am not at all a fan of the police. I also can accept the fact that let's assume that man was not in a police officer's outfit, and let's assume that how we saw it is exactly how it went down. Chick threw some other chick, had a knife, was about to stab someone, maybe in the neck, which is a kill shot. And if that happened outside, let's assume that person wasn't a cop. It'd be like, well, at minimum, you'd be discussing, okay, this was more than likely a rational response in a split second that person put down a deadly threat. And it's happened before. It's happened before in a private instance. And for you guys who are stupid enough to think that wouldn't happen, in effect, if that was a white woman, you're stupid. That happens all the time. They get shot by the police and by private citizens. We're talking about a violent instance right here. Now, again, there's more to be discussed, and maybe it does become more complex than what it initially seemed. Let's say from the initial conflict. But that's the argument that we've been making from the get-go. This is why y'all always fall over yourselves to sit up here and try to paint a narrative and to, instead of just waiting 2 seconds to assess the situation. Assess it. You don't have to have a strong opinion about everything the minute something happens. You don't have to do that. You can let it play out and then form your own opinion. You guys understand that's not a crime. Y'all can do that. Y'all can do that. It's okay to do that. It's okay to not have to feel like, and this is the one negative thing among others, that I feel like social media brought in the sphere of when it comes to discourse, definitely when we talk about the government, is that a bunch of dumbass people feel as if they always have to chime in on shit. This is why Twitter, it's all the stupid people, because they out themselves, right? You get people that are verified, blue check marked out of their mind, and they say some of the dumbest shit because everybody feels as if they have to be part of the conversation. And often they're leading with their emotions. But as it pertains to this specific issue, I do believe that a lot of folks have unrealistic expectations of, and it's not just from people that support, it's from people that hate the police too. You know? So my thing is that, for one, probably shouldn't go around trying to stab people in the neck. That's not the best idea. But nonetheless, all I ask you to do, no matter where you're at, doesn't care where you fall on the political spectrum, isolate the context from you having it's not about actually isolating the context. It's precisely the opposite. What I want you to do is, okay, let's assume that even this wasn't a cop and these were just regular people. Would you figure that be justified or not? And I would encourage you to look at that no matter what the situation is, theorize. You utilize that as some sort of thought exercise. And you'll be surprised how many people either will completely abandon their position because they're not principled at all, and the sheer amount of people that are too stupid to understand that they're not even remotely knowledgeable to understand how to properly react in that situation because they've never been in a physical altercation, and everything that they know about said altercation comes from movies, action movies in particular, and video games. So this is why you have dumb people saying, why didn't you shoot a warning shot? Which anybody that is, again, a responsible gun owner knows you never do that. You are responsible for every single thing coming out of that gun. You don't shoot in the air. If you are going to shoot, you shoot to neutralize said deadly threat. If you are, of course, if we're talking about in the sphere of any like space where other human beings are involved. And you shoot, it's not about necessarily shooting to kill. It's shooting to neutralize the threat. This part of the body, that's the biggest part of the body, right? That ensures that you're not going to fucking miss. Or you're not going to, you're least likely to, I don't know, the bullet go through someone, but through an arm or something like that. This is why these people that say to aim at limbs, they have no idea what it is. They're watching John Wick movies. They have no idea. They've never been any. I would love to see them at a range, but not even just at a range, because a range is one thing, right? But in a sense where you're moving and all of that and having to respond to certain situations, I'm willing to bet these motherfuckers couldn't dare hit the limbs that they claim you should be able to hit. No, you aim center mass for a reason. That's the biggest part of the body. You don't shoot in the air. You don't shoot warning shots. You don't do that. These are irresponsible people that either, again, probably didn't have a father in the household, probably didn't have a father teaching them how to shoot. Ain't go to no course, ain't never took any sort of training. So they have every knowledge that they have on a firearm is some shit that they seen in a movie. So they think, yeah, you just shoot in the air to just get everybody to scramble. You don't ever do that. They think, oh, well, why can't you just shoot him in the leg? Well, because you're likely to miss. There's also arteries there, so you can still kill him. Nonetheless, you're likely to miss. You shoot center mass. Stop getting your information. Again, I know this is one of my longer segments. A lot of y'all lead with your emotions. This isn't something that is particularly unique to people that are on a specific side of the political spectrum, though I do think some do it more than others. Definitely when it comes to this issue. However, a lot of y'all are not only, the reason why I call y'all stupid, it's not just as an insult. The reason being I'm calling you stupid is because I define stupid in this way. Let's backtrack to a more so of a pre-definition, if you will. Ignorance. By literal definition, every single individual in this world is ignorant on something, because not everybody knows everything about what all there is to know. You simply don't. Stupidity is when you are knowingly ignorant on something, like as in you understand that you simply don't know, yet you choose to act, or rather have an open, aggressive, loud opinion about something that you are knowingly ignorant on. It's because some of y'all aren't comfortable. And this is just me putting y'all on game. A lot of y'all aren't comfortable with y'all's ignorance. Me, I absolutely am. And I'm not saying this to say that I'm above everybody. A lot of rational people are. Most rational people are, because they understand what they don't know. So people that say, for example, hey, I'm using that as an example, kind of aside, but it speaks to the point. Comic books. Some people say Invincible, one of the big things. Hey, how you feel about Invincible? What do I always say? I'm not familiar with that comic book. They expect me to be because I'm a comic book guy, but I have no problem telling you when I don't know. What I could do is speak out of my ass, but that would be me being stupid. And a lot of y'all are stupid. A lot of y'all who sit up here and think, well, you just send a social. Oh, well, teachers, they're trained to try to de-escalate. Did you actually watch that footage? Soon as this motherfucker got on the scene, the hell broke loose. Well, ain't no de-escalation. Well, I guess you can consider putting foe in was the de-escalation there. I had a knife about to stab somebody, bro. Like, to act like you just, so here's an unarmed social worker. They would have been able to talk this out of the situation, bro. Chick would have got, I don't know, would have. I can't say. But let's assume that she done got stabbed in the neck and she leaking all over the floor. Because the social worker done appeared and was trying to de-escalate the situation. Saying, hey, no, it's okay. It's going to be all right. Don't stab her in the neck. She on the ground, fucking hawking up on. She done got stabbed in the neck. It's too late for that. And again, two things can be true, guys. You don't have to defend the cops at all on this situation. You don't have to. Some of y'all will. I have no desire to take that situation. I'm just looking at it and assessing it as an actual conflict. And if you do that, you can think about this more critically as far as what I'm saying, that a lot of y'all have unrealistic standards and expectations as far as how you look at state agents. And that is the fundamental problem with the state. You just watched a clip from my podcast, For Canon's Sake. Catch us live at 12 p.m. throughout the week over at youtube.com/YoungRipper59 and follow us over at odyssey.com/@YoungRipper59. If you want to watch the entire video cast after the show is over, just be sure to become a member on the YouTube channel. Of course, the full audio portion of the podcast is available for free on all major digital platforms, or just visit forcanonsake.com.